What's up, guys? Will here. I'm gonna go over my wish trade. I've been holding this one for about a week and a half. I'm just gonna break down why I decided to exit my position today, um, and kind of my philosophy on the general direction of this ticker. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and let you guys know if you have any questions, post them in the comments below. Go ahead and subscribe if you like the content. There will be more videos to come, just breaking down my trades and potential future trades I want to be looking at. I'll talk about some things I'm going to be looking at. So with Wish, I started entering this on the 15th. I saw the run up to 1330. Before this, it spiked to around 15, 17, and before that, even up close into the 30s. A nice run up on volume, then it pulls back, to around this $10 range, high $9, $10 range. See the volume coming back in, so I get in on this day. I start buying. I start a position. I have like 2,000 or 3,000 shares here, thinking that I'm going to retest 17. I'm going to retest the 20s, and the volume's there. So my conviction's in the volume, and it consolidates. Pretty much for the next 2 days after I enter. I see it pull back, but it holds. It holds. Some of the gain. It doesn't dip back to the previous low. So this is a lower high, or a higher low. Excuse me. So I average in some more here. I buy another 1,500 shares or whatever the case is. I end up with about 5,500 shares at about 11. I think I had 1160 was my average, and then it consolidates. You see, like 1, 2, 3, 4, another 4 days, and I only hold it because the volume's there. I think people are consolidating and accumulating positions for the next leg up. Wasn't extremely volatile. There weren't big moves, but the volume is there. And you just can't ignore, 100 million plus day volume. And it never dipped back down below, where my risk was. At the end of the day, I'm not going to take a loss on it. I'm going to still be disciplined in my approach, but it didn't pull back. And so on the 22nd, you see a ramp up. We touch this, $14 range, but we break this 1330 range. And you can't really tell in here, but it was difficult to break through this. And when it did, and it kind of just, the reason why I stayed in it for another 3 or 4 days is because it just consolidated and it held this level, this 1330 to 1340 level. It just, you can kind of see the channel that it's in. And then on this day, I got faked out of here. When it pulled back and touched, 1250, 1260, I was like, I was really, really thinking about exiting my entire position. I ended up selling 3,500 shares into this bounce on, because it closed really strong on Friday. So I got out. I locked in gains, in the 14s. And I held 2,000 shares because it recovered so well. I thought, okay, this was just a panic off of its highs, off the lows. It's been ramping for a while. And so I thought it was just a panic. And so I was like, okay, my conviction stayed, the volume stayed. And so I stayed with it. And then today, pre-market, I actually re-entered pre-market. I don't know what time it was. So one day, I ended up buying another 2,000 shares at $14, and then I just kind of watch it. It doesn't really do anything, and then it starts ramping here. And so this is where I really get interested. I'm like, okay, can we break 15? This is the next significant level of resistance after 1470, because it couldn't break 1470 forever. It was just trying to break this range and it couldn't do it. 1460 to 1470, bounced more here. I was like, when is this thing gonna hold, right? But it just couldn't prove itself. And so today it finally rips to 15. I'm like, finally, and then it pulls back, and I'm just like, if it can't hold 15, I'm not staying in it. 15 is significant. The fact that it blew past 1470, 1460 range and took out 15 was huge, but it couldn't do anything. It just barely touched it. It touched it and it fell back down. And you kind of see, once you reject off a key resistance, it's gonna pull back. But the question is, how far does it pull back, right? Does it completely give up? or does it give you, does it keep a tight, channel? So it pulls back, touches 1440. Still holding my position, but I'm not liking it, right? We touch 15 again. Actually, you know what? As soon as it touches 15 again this time, I exit, because we touched it. By this time, we touched 15 like 4 or 5 times almost, and I'm just like, it's just too heavy. It's not gonna break it. Pretty much is what I'm thinking. And so right here, this is where it was when it couldn't even get back to 15. Right, I started exiting on this. I sold. I had 4,000 shares. I let it go for like 1480, and like 1470 was my risk. And I was like, you know what? It just doesn't look strong. And then you see it pulls back, touches 1450, touches 1440. And then here, this 1 minute candle, 3.6 million, volume on this 1 minute. And it just ripped, dude. It ripped right past 15, up into the 15, 16. But it couldn't hold. Still can't hold the breakout. And not only can it not hold the breakout, it can't hold the prior resistance of 1470, 1460. Like this was so hard to get through. You can't even hold that. And so I'm like, you know what? She's not ready to go yet. And so what's important is, I was thinking I'm going to sell this thing, 17, starting to sell it in the 17s. But, the volatility just doesn't match the volume. And you have to learn to not go with your emotions and what you think, and you have to go with what the chart's showing you. The chart told me it couldn't break the resistance and to hold that as the new support. As soon as you break the resistance, that needs to be the next support. It has to hold support. Otherwise, it's just weak. The volume is irrelevant because there's no volatility. So you don't have to be a genius to study to trade this. You just have to know what you're looking at. So key focus: study. Find out what you're good at. Don't overtrade, and perfect what you're good at. How do you know what you're good at? You go back and you reevaluate the trades that you've already done in the past. Every trade should be tracked. You go back, you reevaluate your trades. Are you trading breakouts? Are you trading dip buys? There's so many different patterns you can trade. Find out which ones statistically you're doing good at, and then just focus on that. We're dealing with a time now where we have, literally millions of new people trading, and they're trading with pretty much free money. Because Tim Sykes made a great point today in one of his webinar. He was talking about how this type of volatility really hasn't been seen in a while. And where is it coming from? We have a lot of new traders that don't know how to trade, and they are trading with free money, and they're going to lose it all if they're undisciplined, if they don't study and hone in and find out what they're good at. So I even tried to retrade this again. What did it do? On one of these bounces back down to 15, I was like, you know what? I'm going to enter here because it looked like 15 was becoming support. And then it just got rejected again. And I was like, you know what? I'm out. And at the end of the day, I re-entered at, 1460 when it was like consolidating here. Because this was a very hard range for it to break out of. And then I ended up exiting again, and then it just collapsed. Like, so disappointing. So disappointing the way this chart turned out. It's still holding up though. I mean, it still hasn't broken down past that 1430. You can't trade it. I mean, you just can't stay with this one when you got other things ripping. Look, repo ripped 1,200% today. WSRC ripped 800% a couple days ago. Our PBYA, this thing ripped 300-400% today. What else is running? MJWL, D-Lock had a nice run. Like, look at that. I mean, there's so many other plays. Why am I going to get stuck in Wish that just can't do anything? It can't prove itself. There's no volatility. You're not going to stay with something when there's other plays. And so you have to realize the time period we're in right now also, June, July, August, these are typically really slow months for traders. Like the markets normally slow down, so you don't want to be too aggressive with anything. Yeah, we're in a bull market, but historically, the summer months are slower months. So you don't want to ever guess. You don't ever want to guess on what something's going to do. You want to go into every trade with a plan, Be disciplined in your plan. And you have to react to what the market's showing you. Whatever it's showing you, you have to recognize it and you have to react to it. So I locked in about 11,000 on this one. Actually, a little over 11,000. I gave back a couple bucks. I mean, every time I re-entered it, when I re-entered it at 15, you know, that was my risk. When I re-entered it at 1460, that was my risk. And so I don't know what it's going to do. Well, but I'm not going to sit in here and guess. I'm not going to sit here and wait for it. You know, I'm going to lock my gains in, and I'm going to focus on other things. I'm going to focus on things that are actually running. You know, yeah, the volume is amazing, but the volatility sucks. So I hope you guys got something out of this. This is my trade. Locked in 11 grand. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Leave your questions. If you have anything to say, follow me on Twitter at The Secret Citrus. I post all my trades live there. Also, things that I'm looking at. You guys have a good night.